Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It's Thursday, 30th September 2021, and the 3-month drill has begun for some residents in Kaduna State. No telecom service, no fuel station, no motorcycles, and I'm told that even markets are shut down in this area. So, if you have the privilege of calling loved ones tomorrow on public holiday, or you could go to the market and get some items, I want you to have at the back of your mind that there are law-abiding Nigerians like you in the far north who do not have those privileges, and that's because there's an ongoing military crackdown on bandit activities in those areas. The conversation is on as to what is government doing as succor for these affected people and the sustainability of such strategy, because you recall that Governor El-Rufai had said that it was as a result of the shutdown on telecom services in neighboring states like Zamfara and Katsina that we now have a movement of bandits across into border areas in Kaduna, and that is what has now necessitated this particular approach. I really am thinking personally about whether or not this is solving the problem, or we are just solving a problem in an area and creating another yet in another place. But that's not what we're talking about this morning. I just want you to have that at the back of your mind, because in less than 24 hours, Nigeria will be celebrating its 61st independence anniversary. And it's this time of the year again that the debate as to whether or not it's worth celebrating comes up. And indeed, there are reasons on both sides of the conversation. Some will tell you about how we've survived 30 months civil war, and indeed how Nigeria has remained together for decades. But on the other side, I can tell you 1,000,001 things why Nigerians will tell you they're not interested in celebrating. But I'm joined by Honorable Segun Olulade, former member, Lagos State House of Assembly, in the studio here in Lagos. Ajuri Ngelale is Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs. He joins us via Zoom from Abuja. Let me begin in Abuja very quickly. In 61 years, we've seen quite a number of things, but the question of many is whether or not this year's anniversary is worth celebrating with realities on the ground. So I've heard some folks say, even if government is inclined to celebrating, majority of Nigerians are concerned about survival. The average Nigerian is probably consumed about what is going to eat, how is going to pay his children's school fees, and quite a number of issues bordering insecurity. What are your thoughts about this? Well, we need to find out if Ajuri Ngelale can hear me. But while we're working that out, we probably will just return to the studio where I have former member, Lagos State House of Assembly, Honorable Segun Olulade. Good morning, and thank you for finding time to come.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for having me here.
So what do you think? Should we roll out the drums and celebrate?
Well, I would say it's a mixed feelings, no doubt. Are we going to celebrate? Are we also, because it's called for concern, are we going to look at the issues that we have, and because of that would not like to celebrate? But all the same, we still have to celebrate. For me, I think for the fact that we can still have a country that we can say our home, that is Nigeria, I think it called for celebration. And but we can do better. We can move forward than where we are now. Unfortunately, there are so many issues begging for answers. The issue of insecurity, the economy, even our infrastructures. How is it now that we are seeing rail being brought up again? How is it now that we start talking about some of these major roads that connect states with one another? And these are issues that we should also look at. Our infrastructural deficits and the economy of the country, how people are living. Are they happy with the situation on ground? But all the same, like I said, peace is important. Why some do not have that peace in their respective communities within the country? We have the latter part of the country enjoying peace, and for that we should thank God for it. And we know that the government is working on the issue of insecurity, But we still believe that the government can do better than what we're doing now. And that's not for now.
You know, Honorable, there are many who would say that the peace you're talking about is relative, because even though the issue of banditry is predominant in the north, not everyone in the West is sleeping with both of their eyes closed. An maybe Navy official thereabout was kidnapped in Lagos just a few days ago. In Osun State, there was a bank robbery where a police officer was killed. And there are many things really happening across board. Let's return to Abuja. I'm told that Ajuri is back. Ajuri, you heard the Honorable talk about development as snail-paced progress. It's interesting that we're still discussing failed road portions at the floor of the Senate. I'm talking about the situation in Niger State. Our doctors are perpetually on strike, lecturers too. Our schools are not doing quite well, and that is evident in the quality of research they could come up with during the COVID-19 outbreak. How do we react to this, first as a Nigerian? I know that you have your job cut out for you as a spokesman for this administration.
Thank you.
Ajuri's network is frozen again, so we might just stick with the studio while they're working that out, so that we can have a really smooth conversation. But when it's back, please let me know so that we can also reconnect with him. But I'd like to bring this up very quickly as we got what do you think has kept us together? I don't know what the life expectancy is now for the average Nigerian. The last time I checked, I thought it was less than 60 or 61. But Nigeria as a nation is 61. How do you think that we have pulled that through?
Well, I would say there are things, there are indices that brings us together. Intermarriage, sports, and at times religion, culture. All those things are indices that brought us together as one. And we still believe, a lot of Nigerians still believe that this country can be better. There is hope. We keep having hope upon hope that the country can be better than where we are now. And so, at 61, we might not be where we should be, but we're still doing better. When you look at other countries, how they came together, we're just 61 as a nation, and I think we should be able to learn from other countries to forge ahead and bring. And I think some of the things that are happening lately are signs that we can dialogue together, we can sit down together and come together and provide solutions to this country. I don't believe in complaining about issues that we have on ground. Definitely those ones are nothing can take it away until we provide solutions to it. So the solutions is what we should be looking at. What are the things that have this, because we can't keep talking about PDP 16 years of whatever, or APC is 6 years old, whatever, in government, or we have the military incursions. Those things should be a thing of the past. We should start looking at how best can we address these issues that we have, the issues of unity, patriotism, the issues of infrastructural deficits that we have, the issue of you spoke about the teachers going on strike, lecturers going on strike, our doctors are going on strike. A lot of them are even migrating to other countries where they have not been trained. We've invested so much on them here in this country. We see a situation where Nigerians are believing imported goods than the made in Nigerian goods. And those are the things that are affecting our naira. Why can't we just sit down and look at how best can we address those issues? Yes, we know that this current government are doing a lot, but we as a nation, we want a president that will be able to address us. We want to hear from our president. As a leader, you must provide yourself for leadership. And for that, that is the only area for me. I think Mr. President should be able to interact with Nigerians. We should be able to have that personal touch. Aside from that, he's doing well, he's trying his best, but just not in the area of security. I must confess that. We can do better in the area of security. You were talking about a former, is he Navy or Air Force I think it was Levy officer that was kidnapped, in Lagos, and the killings everywhere. If you are in Kaduna, for instance, now, and you cannot connect with your children that you send to market, or your wife that is at home while you are at in your office, and you don't even know what is happening. So you know how difficult it is to live under those circumstances. So for me, we still have to address the issues. Then you said something that's very, very fundamental. Is it that we are just going to be isolating our solutions, or we have an awesome solution to the issue of security in this country? We can't just continue to say we want to capture. We have done so in Zamfara. We've done so in Katsina, and we can do the same thing in Kaduna. So when they move from Kaduna to another state, we'll push them to other. No, we must find a lasting solution to this. I don't see that as it's a temporary solution. We must find a lasting solution to it, that the issue of security should be a thing of the past.
So in the past years, we've seen some agitation for secession, call them people of Biafra, call them the Yoruba Nation. As we speak now, the leaders of both organizations are in detention. But I want us to talk beyond the seeming atrocities that this government believes that they have committed, to the ideology behind the agitation. So there are people who are saying that if Nigeria was working as it should be, there might not be a need for people to say, now it's time to move. Do you think that government is paying attention to these concerns from this group of people? Are we asking questions? Come, let's sit down and talk. Why do you want to leave? Do we understand that it might be as a result of poverty, inequality, leadership that is driving these concerns?
Well, there are people within the system that will not want this government. A majority of these issues are political. I said they were political because I could recall when Obasanjo was there, it was the OPC. When Jonathan was there, it was Niger Delta. Now Buhari is there. We are talking about Boko Haram and bandit and so on and so forth. So we have people who are just out within the country. But one of the major issues is that we are not doing name and shame them. If we can pinpoint or address the issue of those who, because we've heard so many stories of where we know those who are behind it, but we have not seen their names. So let them publish those names of those who are behind such.
I believe you are speaking to the issue of banditry and terrorism.
But
I am talking about, the
issue of
the agitation for secession. People who are calling.
I think as a country we have not done well in addressing that issue. Those who are agitating, we know that Nigeria is the most populous nation, black nation in the world today. And we cannot but sit down and let every ethnic group take ownership of that nation. Let us believe that I am a Nigerian. When we leave this country, when you get to, if you travel from here to London, to Paris, to wherever, once you see a Nigerian, the first thing, or even a black man, the first thing you want to find out, are you a Nigerian? You are not going to ask the fellow, are you a Yoruba or Igbo or Hausa? And when we have the football match, everybody is behind the Nigerian team. That's right. That shows us that we all love this country. What is missing is that ownership, that sense of belonging. And that is what is causing this segregation, that people believe that, okay, it's their turn. And some people even flaunt it, that this is our time. That sense of belonging is not there. So people are agitating based on that. So Nigerians leaders must be ready to sit down. You don't need to lock them up, except those who want to go beyond, or that we have found out that they are being sponsored, because some of them could be sponsored. But if they are not being sponsored to disorganize or destabilize the country, if they are saying what they are saying based on some major sentiment that we cannot just push aside, why not sit down with them?
What do you personally think about these sentiments that they have talked about in the past?
Well, some of them are genuine sentiments. Some of them are genuine sentiment. We are all in this country.
Does it call for a split in the nation called Nigeria?
No. I will not support that. I believe in this country. I love my country. I know there's no other country I can go into that can be like Nigeria. Even if you get a passport of a British passport or an American passport, and you say you are a citizen of America, you are still a second-class citizen. There are things that you cannot do in those countries.
But you agree
freely.
That not many people share, your patriotism. Patriotism, as we speak, is at an all-time low. Because I want to believe that, believing in your country is driven by an inspiration given by the posture of leadership, the fact that you can tell that leadership is genuine and that there is integrity in leadership, and there are stuffs like development and the rest. I mean, look at the average Nigerian. He or she supplies almost everything for themselves. Provides power. Some people even have to fix the road that leads into their community.
Yes, like we do.
I mean, you pay your child's school fees, you pay for health. I mean, that's why many people's dream, the Nigerian dream for many, is how they will leave this country. And I'm not even referring to just poor people, the middle class, people who you would expect would invest their resources, their time, their education in the country, are the ones who are leaving for Canada. Yeah. So how do you think that we can boost this patriotism that you are talking about? I mean, you are a former member of the House of Assembly. Not everybody had that privilege. Not many people believe in this country like you're talking. People look at it and they're like, oh, it's because of your privilege or advantage position. That's why you believe in a country like Nigeria.
No, I've always believed in this country, and I'll continue to believe in the country. I know that our diversity is a strength, is something that we should celebrate, but we are misusing it, and it has to do with the leadership. And like I said earlier, I hope Ajuri will come up. I would appreciate a situation where Mr. President will be in the market, where Mr. President will be able to engage with those artisans, where Mr. President will engage with the widows, with those who are struggling, the so-called downtrodden, where he could have that personal interactions with them and engage them. Not those of us who can knot the tie and have our brothers to go and sit down with him and be telling him what is not. That is the kind of leadership.
Let me hold you for a minute. We have Opera calling in from Victoria Island. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah. Hello?
Good morning. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah. We thank God. 61 years. But it is God that is in every one of us. Glory be to God. But keep coming to our leaders in this nation. There's nothing to celebrate about. Is it of the economy? Is it of the nation security? There is nothing to celebrate. Our leaders are not ready to listen to Nigerians. They are not ready, especially this regime within. They are not ready to listen to us until their regime is off. What does it demand to call Nigerians to a round table and talk? God has so much blessed us in this country. In the midst of ocean and hope is entering our eyes. Let our president and those ruling with him come down and discuss with Nigeria. Act of killings, is it what we are going to celebrate? People are poor, no job, no this and that. There's nothing, but we thank God we are still alive. God is keeping us. Thank God that our life is not in their hands. So there's nothing to celebrate. Thank you.
All right, thank you so very much for your contribution on the program. Let's try to reconnect with Ajuri Ngelale, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs. Well, I can't tell if you've been following the show, but I'll just bring it on where we are right now. Some would say it is a fact that patriotism is at an all-time low in the country. And some others are also saying that the country is now more fractured than it has ever been in the last half century, with all the primordial fault lines now defining interaction vis-a-vis the national conversation on rotational presidency between southern and northern governors. What are your thoughts along this line?
Yeah, thank you very much, first and foremost, for the opportunity of being with you this morning. And let me say a happy Independence Day to all of our people watching from around the world. Let me start by, acknowledging your earlier question. I heard your question. Unfortunately, the network did not allow me to respond properly. But let me just say that the notion in this country that we cannot speak as citizens, even as we are serving the public in government, I think is erroneous. When I address the public, even in my official capacity, I do it first as the person that I am, right? So I'm committed to ensuring that I speak honestly with our people whenever I speak about any issue, whether it's good or bad in terms of the government perspective. Let me also start from the position of, look, you noted some of the challenges in the country concerning patriotism and national unity and social cohesion. These are legitimate questions. I think one of the major elements of what we really need to do in terms of national reorientation, as we're moving very aggressively to solve many of the challenges that you have raised in the program, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's job creation, whether it's provision of capital to our micro and small enterprises, those neglected, entrepreneurs at the base of the economic ladder in the country. These are things that obviously President Muhammadu Buhari has invested in at an unprecedented scale, but yet there's still much more that has to be done. There's no doubt about that. But on the patriotism question, I think we have to be realistic about where we are in terms of our development challenges. Absolutely. We know what the challenges are. We hear it every day, right? But I also think there's a need for us to balance what we're saying with the tangible and verifiable progress that we are making. So, for example, it's one thing to raise crime, banditry, terrorism, poverty, right? Because that's something that everybody can identify with and say, oh, yes, these are the problems. But I find that when it's time to talk about the 3 new international airports that have been built over the last few years, when it's time to talk about the new high-speed rail lines that have been fully constructed over the last 3 years, when it's time to talk about the new roads, bridges, power plants, and ports being built, and dams across the country being built, over the last 3 years, there's relative silence, right? Particularly in relation to when we're talking about herdsmen and banditry and some of these other things. So I think there is a role for our media practitioners to play to ensure that, yes, they're always straight with the Nigerian people, they're always sticking to the facts, but you don't just stick to the facts when it comes to the bad stuff that's sensational that will get the headlines and the sympathy of the audience. You also have to tell the truth and be factual about the progress that's being made. And I think that that's a balance that we have not yet struck nationally across media platforms. But look, let's be clear. When we benchmark our national progress on the performance of successive administrations, in other words, if we are saying that because successive administrations, both military and civilian, over the last 50 years, we had consistent governance failures, the issues of corruption, the issues of just general incompetence, not being able to implement development plans or even create development plans for the country. These are realities, right? But I think one of the mistakes we make is that we have based our national sense of self, our collective sense of self as Nigerians, on the performance of a few failed public administrators over a 50-year period. And I'm saying that that's a mistake. I'm saying that we will continue to be the hope of the black race. Every black person anywhere in the world, whether they're in the United States, the UK, China, Russia, they are looking to the Federal Republic of Nigeria to get it right so that they can walk wherever they are in the world with that sense of pride and that sense of possibility. And what we are saying is that if we continue, we have to start telling our own stories. The Western world is going to be telling our stories for us. They're going to be talking about only terrorism or only strikes or only this problem or that problem. It's up to us to frame our own stories, to frame our own narrative as a nation. And I believe that that narrative should be truthful. It should involve some of the negative aspects that we have to overcome.
I agree with you, Ajuri. Let me jump in very quickly. I agree with you that every story must be balanced, and you also agree that that's why we brought you on the show this morning, to provide the balance. However, when you talk about roads and airports, all of these infrastructure development are largely dependent on security. So Dr. Akwili was using a road yesterday and was shot dead. So there are people who are living in constant fear of using even some of this infrastructure that government has provided. So when you ask them, they are thinking about insecurity or security as a more relevant government responsibility at this time. But let us take a break here, because when we return, I also want us to talk about the need for continuity in government and not just discussing Nigeria from a block of political administration. We'll take a break now and we'll return with more. Please stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. The Diamond Jubilee is a milestone. Add one to it, and it's a joyous thing, the fact that Nigeria is now 61. I mean, you think of it look at it from an individual's perspective and what it also means for a nation. I'm joined this morning by Honorable Segun Olulade, former member, Lagos State House of Assembly, and Ajuri Ngelale, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs. We had connecting with Ajuri earlier, so I'm going to stay with him for a few more minutes. We were talking about how welfare and security would mean more to Nigerians today, and it is a fact in the Constitution, the fact that this is the primary responsibility of every government. Don't you agree?
Oh, absolutely, which is why we have seen the kind of attention being paid to the issue that we've seen. Look, let's be clear about something. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, released an annual report on insecurity around the world, particularly around violent crimes, conflict, terrorism, these kinds of issues, right? They themselves found that in the United States, for example, you have about an average of 52 murders on a daily basis. I didn't say 52 murders a month or a year, 52 murders a day. In South Africa, it's 57, right? We're averaging about 11, right? Which is not zero. We all want to get to zero, because then you have a perfectly secure society. It would be a utopia and all of that. The point that I'm raising is that if you're in the United States on Independence Day, everybody's raising their flags, they're flying fireworks, they're shooting fireworks and eating barbecue. The reason why they're doing that is not because everything's perfect in their country. Black people cannot walk freely around the United States, as you know, because of the kinds of police brutality that we've seen, amongst other features of a society that has racist tendencies, right? That does not now mean that they don't celebrate their country. And by the way, if you watch CNN, you're not going to be seeing those 53 murders on a day-to-day basis. Why? Because the local news stations cover it, but the national stations don't magnify it for the international audience for reasons best known to them, right? Because they guard the stories that they tell the rest of the world about themselves. And so look, the truth is this. We were at a point a few years ago in 2018 that in the middle belt, we were seeing casualties every day, 100 people slaughtered last night. Day after day after day, you're seeing those casualties. This President Muhammadu Buhari, put in place Operation World Stroke. We have seen a near silencing of that kind of rate of casualties, nothing approaching that since then, right? That's progress. If you look at the organizational hierarchy of the terror groups that have been militating against the development and unity of this country, right, the stability of this country, you have seen an outright...
Probably we'll get back to Ajuri Ngelale. Well, it's also one of the issues we're talking about. The world has gone ahead in technology, but we're still battling with that back here in Nigeria. Well, I understand this point of view that the media must be balanced, not only paint government administration black, but also pay attention to the good things that government is doing. How do you expect citizens to understand this position, particularly at this time?
Well, it might be a bit difficult because he can be in Abuja and have such information that we don't have. If you have the information, and I must give it to Ajuri. Ajuri has been doing a fantastic job since he became the special assistant to the president. He's been doing so well, giving us information that we do not really have in the past. So for me, I think we can do better than what we are doing. You understand? People will understand you better when you engage them, when you allow them to take ownership, when we can discuss issues that affect all of us collectively without any sense of bias. When I can look at my president and tell my president, you've done well, you have not done well, and without anybody reading any meaning to it, that is when we know that we're in a country that we all can call our home. And that's what a lot of Nigerians that are aggrieved are saying. We know that, like I said earlier, every Nigerian loves this country. Because when there is football match and Nigerians score, you will see the jubilation everywhere.
That's right.
When you see a Nigerian outside this country and you look at him and say, are you a Nigerian as a black man? And say, yes, I'm a Nigerian. You become friends automatically. Especially when you are in a country where all the people around you are whites. So when you see a black man, you want to interact. I was in Holland some few months back, and in that community that I was, everybody there, in fact, they were looking at me as if I'm like a god that comes from somewhere, or an angel.
And you're even still lighter than some others.
Thank you. So, but even with that, they couldn't really relate with me.
I get you.
The way. So I want to stay in this country. I want to build this country together with others.
Ajuri is back, and the Honorable here was just talking about a fantastic job you do as Special Assistant to the President. But I wanted to switch for a minute back to a Nigerian citizen. There are some who would say that it's not always been like this. I'd like us to have this conversation from a Nigerian perspective, because it's one thing to discuss independence every year, and then we're looking at it from the prism of the current administration. There was a time when this country was a beacon of hope, not just for Africa, but for the black race. Talk to us about the need to have the Nigerian dream and to make it a continuity that is not changing every 4 or 8 years, depending on who becomes president or which party wins election, for instance.
Right. Thank you very much. So, as I earlier stated, there's never going to be a delinking between my citizenship of this country and the work that I do. But if you're asking me to focus on the issue, independent of maybe a political persuasion or something like that, I can certainly do that. Look, we are some of the most, if not the most, talented people in the world. We are exceptionally gifted as a people. That's just who we are. You go to China, we're speaking Mandarin, sitting on top of companies. You go to Europe, our medical doctors are on top of the health profession. You go to the US, the best universities, our Nigerians are at the top of the academia, right? And across business, you name the sector, we're doing it, and we're doing it everywhere. And we're speaking the languages and we're fitting in everywhere. We are a gifted people. Now, the issue really is about how we see ourselves. I think part of the challenge that we have is instead of carrying the best, in fact, I'll give you a little bit of an example. The other day, I was speaking with a European ambassador to Nigeria, and he was telling me, he said, you know, in your country, your people tend to fail to tell your stories properly. I go to other countries around the world in my role as an ambassador, and when I meet people, I meet closed societies, people who make you feel unwelcome, people who make you feel like you're an outsider, that what are you doing here, and all of that. He said, when you come into Nigeria, it is exceptional how inviting it is. That when you get into a car, even into a taxi, for example, the taxi driver will take you like he's known you as his friend for a very, very long time. Very hospitable, very inviting, and all of that. These are stories that we don't tell about ourselves. What we tell about ourselves is, oh, there's poverty, oh, there's harassment, oh, there's banditry, oh, we don't like our brothers, and all of that, which is not true. The reality is most adverse, the most deleterious stories that we tell about ourselves, much of it emanates from the political elite. Let me give you an example. When our people are in Kano together, the Igbos, the Yoruba, the Hausa, the Fulani, when they're all together in a place like Kano or in a place like Lagos, they're doing business, they're intermarrying, they're loving themselves. But when you have some select political leaders who have their political aspirations and feel that the best way to fire up their their silos, their political silos, their political bases, what they will do is they will now be telling you to go and look with side eye at these other people who are trying to take opportunities from you. This playbook is not new. They do the same thing in South Africa, where the ANC, for example, drums up the notion of xenophobia, that, oh, Nigerians are trying to take all of your jobs and all of your opportunities, to try and explain away the fact that their developmental policies have not worked in favor of their own people, and they have not prepared their people for the opportunities in their own country, which is why people come in and take that, right? So these are the real issues that we have in the country. We must begin to delineate between the active attempts by political actors to try and create divisions between people in pursuit of their own political interests.
Absolutely.
And the actual reality on the ground around how we actually get together. Because the truth is, we actually get along well when politicians and politics are not involved.
Let me hold you for a minute, Ajuri. I'm talking about what you're just highlighting. Mohammed has called in from worry. Nigerians living everywhere, and perhaps there's a semblance of unity and harmony that is not also being emphasized. Mohammed, if you are there, please go ahead with your contribution.
Good morning, Nifemi.
Good morning.
Ogutoye. I guess I'm right.
Absolutely. You.
And the honorable member in that studio, I will say good morning to you.
Good morning.
And Mr. Ajuri. Sincerely speaking, I will say listening to Nifemi, the honorable member, and Ajuri, I'm always happy. I'm proud to be in Nigeria, but I'm prouder today, if there's a word like that, listening to your guests. You see, if we are waiting until we have a utopia society that everything will go right, that is when we say, oh, we've got in the country. I think we are going to wait till that he don't come. The same America celebrate America when we have public shooting, either in a casino, in what do they call where people, nightclubs or whatever. People kill people on the street, and they still call their country America. In fact, they even go further to even call it God-owned country. You see, let me go further to say, I listened to Ajuri in another platform where he really spoke, and I think that is what the honorable member is trying to say here. So that when you don't sell yourself, you don't actually engage people, nobody will even know if you are actually there. I think that is one part the government actually failed. I think the honorable member said he wants to see President whoever is engaging with the people. I, as a person, I have seen the president. How do I mean I've seen the president? I've taken train from Wari to Itakpe. I saw the president. I've taken good route from Kotangora to Yauri to Koko to Sokoto. I've seen the president.
Thank you.
I want again, whereby a day I will see the president, where I will take train further to Abuja. I want to also see the president, whereby the train I will take it further from Kaduna to Kano. I want to also see the president, whereby I will take train one day from Lagos to Calabar, or I will take train from Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. I want to see the president, whereby those people who have nurtured to be criminals. A 19-year-old was paraded in Katsina. He has a father and mother. They ask him, he's 19. He has a father and mother. But the parents don't even know where he is. So I would just say, please, we start from the home. We should prepare our children so that it will be easy for government also to give us what we really want.
Fantastic submission, Mohammed. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning. We really appreciate it. It's a kind of call that I'm sure Ajuri is excited about. I'm going to get back to Abuja in a moment, but talk to us about, because there's been an attempt by Nigeria to rebrand Nigeria. Yeah. I mean, there's the new Nigeria. There are quite a number of attempts by the National Orientation Agency. Why do you think these attempts have failed?
Well, we are good in theoretical aspect of life. We can design whatsoever we want to design. We're good in writing proposals. But when it is time for execution, and that is one of the reasons we must continue to build institutions in this country. We leave building up institutions to playing politics with the lives of people by just building an individual to fill into an office. But that should change. That shouldn't be the issue. We should start looking at how each institution will work for us and work for Nigerians. Either you are, wherever you are from, you cannot even change it. And that is what happened in America during Trump and Joe Biden's handing over. Even when Trump did not want to go, the institution will not even allow you to stay. So, and that is what we must continue to now focus on majorly. We're talking about good road. How are we going to sustain it? Who are the people that are going to manage those facilities that President Buhari are providing for Nigerians today? Who are the people that are going to succeed President Buhari that will make things work better than how President Buhari is living it? So those are the areas that we need to look at. Absolutely. And that's what I've been missing over the years. And that's why some of us believe that democracy is still the answer. We will get it right anyhow. There are some things that are happening. Even at the National Assembly, we're seeing some changes of things. Now, we can now look at it from the other aspect, that if things have been going on like that in the last 61 years, I am very, very sure Nigeria wouldn't have been where we are today.
Kenneth has called in from Makurdi. Good morning, Kenneth.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Thank you very much, Al. Good morning, Ajuri, Ngelale, if he's listening to me. I'm so happy. I want to, first of all, firstly say, with Nigerian at 61, and also put it clear that it's indeed a time for reflections, because at 61 is actually a far journey. And we are here today. There's a lot of challenges from one government to another, and then today we are into another government. Critically, there's two issues we really need to talk about at 61. Nigeria is actually facing a challenge of insecurity in the country across, being in the north, south, west, and the rest of the places within the country, whereby some other parts of the country's telecommunication means of communications have been shut down. It's quite sad, pathetic, as a people. And economically, we're not doing well, because today the exchange rate is quite high, where the income of a civil servant is not actually being, pushed up. And then when you go to the market, a lot of things are actually, prices of things are going up, and then, like that. Then high life is actually quite difficult. But I want to say here that we have come a long way. The government have established a lot of things, because we can record a lot of things on ground. If you open the books, you can see a lot of things that the successful governments have come and put in place. And then today we're here. I want to challenge and at the same time advise the federal government. I'm a Nigerian. And let us critically look at the issues, those two issues I've actually mentioned earlier. The economic system, and then of course the security. As much as the government is actually doing good, but I'm doing well in that directions. But I want to encourage the federal government. Let us try as a people, put this into an open debate. Sometimes we talk about security. It's something that cannot just be put there out there, for people to debate on it. But I want to tell you that any government that wants to be so responsible, you put some of these things into a public debate. You try to get people's views about how we're going to do about this. Security is a business of everybody. You there in the studio, Ajuri, the other side. It's for all of us. So the ways that we tackle these things, because they said a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. So if we do away with the level of insecurity, we know, some of these places where those people operate, we should try as much as possible.
All right.
Put the security men, tell them what they're supposed to do, and then put all our hands together and then to make Nigeria a great nation.
Thank you, Kenneth,
for your contribution. I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for calling in. Let's get back to Abuja. Ajuri, you talked to us about the role the media must play in some of these very brilliant issues that you have raised. I'd like you to discuss more pragmatic ways that we can get Nigerians on board as regards this initiative.
Right. Well, thank you very much for this question, my brother. Let me just say that one of the major places to start when it comes to the role of the media will be to fact check. You look around the mediascape today, and you find that a lot of practitioners are simply not doing the research. They're not working hard enough. I've seen that. I'm speaking from experience now because I've been in your chair. Many people are not doing the research. So when somebody comes with absolute falsehood, nothing verifiable, nothing that they can verify at all or authenticate, and they say it to millions of people watching, because the person on the seat has not researched, they cannot say, look, oh, that thing you're saying is actually false. This is the reality. And that's the responsibility of the media anywhere in the world. We don't have that enough in Nigeria. That's step one. Step two is that there's a notion, earlier in the conversation, I mentioned the issue of media balancing opinions and all of that. And what your response was to say that, that's why you're here, that's why you brought me onto the program, which I understand that. But it goes a step further. If you, BBC, Sky, CNN, you name it, Al Jazeera and all of that, they'll bring it. They don't wait for the person from a particular side to bring their position in order to be able to present the facts of the situation. So, for example, if there are 3 rail lines built, right? Somebody is saying, Buhari's administration has not built any rail line, on a lie, on a propaganda, and all of that. Then the spokesman of government says, wait, oh no, we built 3, and these are where they are, and all of that. It should not be until that point where the journalist who is in between will now say, actually, it's true that they actually did build 3 rail lines. No. Before it even gets to that point, the journalist should be able to lay on the table that, look, on the rail sector, this is where it is, this is where they're failing, but this is where they have succeeded. And we don't get enough of that. But let me also make the point very quickly that when we talk about patriotism and how we see ourselves, our collective selves, the reason why I started from the point of saying that we have benchmarked our self-respect, our self-perception on the failed performance of successive administrators in the country is because we link ourselves to the performance of politicians.
We're really running out of time now, so I wanted to bring your thoughts together. I'm going to give you just like 1 minute more.
Okay. At the end of the day, we must own who we are. Irrespective of the fact that we have not gotten it right over the last 50 years, and we have 50 years worth of deficits across sectors that President Muhammadu Buhari is working feverishly to resolve with very limited resources, right? We must own the fact that we really are the hope of the black race. I think Nigerians don't really understand who they really are and the privilege they have in being a Nigerian. They could have been born a Gambian or Sierra Leonean or something, some other country, right? They're Nigerians. That's all right. We can't be talking about unmet potential now.
Let's take Yakubu's call very quickly from Dokpebo. Good morning, Yakub. You have just about 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you very much. If you give good morning, Honorable Olulade.
Good morning, sir.
If you give him 1 hour, it will exhaust it finish and still ask for more. I give kudos to Ngelale because he is the only spokesperson of Mr. President that did a lot of jobs in terms of let Nigeria know what this government is doing. But my question is this. Honorable Olulade said something earlier. What he said is that at a point, I think Ngelale should answer this question before he goes. At a point, the government says that they know the people behind this sponsoring the Boko Haram, and then they are going to mention their name and shaming them, even taking them to court and prosecuting them for Nigerian people to know. What happened? Why are they not mentioning them? Why don't let Nigerian people know who are these people are?
The Attorney General of the Federation also made it clear that the matter is sub judice. They're in court. You can't name and shame someone when the matter is in court. I think that is already clarified. But also, when the case is on, journalists go to courts and it's going to be for everyone to see. But we must wrap it up here. Let me just get your final contribution. Tomorrow is Independence Day, so we'll still continue this conversation there about it. But let us drive this home. What would be your take home on this conversation?
Well, my take home is that Nigerians should be patriotic. I know Nigerians love this country. I know we can do better. I know we can support the government. I know that all these facilities, those who are whatever they are doing, whatever thing to disorganize or destabilize this country, God will not allow them to achieve their aims. But for us, let us come together. We are brothers. We love each other. We marry an Igbo guy marries an Hausa man, a woman. So we have that relationship. We go to the same church. We go to the same market. We work in the same office. We go to the same school. So why can't we just remain so and be stronger and build a nation that we all can continue to call our own nation and be proud of it?
Ajuri Ngelale, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs. We probably will continue this conversation tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us from Abuja. Honorable Segun Olulade, former member, Lagos State House of Assembly. It's always a pleasure to have you come. A big thank you to everyone who called and everyone who watched. Happy Independence Anniversary to Nigeria, and we'll see you again tomorrow.